Good day, brothers and sisters. This is your host, Job Moraga from Marang Spiritual Ministries. Today, brothers and sisters, I want to talk about an interesting topic. These are my wilderness moments. Let me call them that. My wilderness moments. What are your wilderness moments? Where did God take you? Where did the Spirit of the Lord take you during your wilderness moments? So, brothers and sisters, during COVID, this is the story now. During COVID, I used to be invited by different radio stations to say something about, or maybe to say something to individuals whose houses were bonded to certain banks, whose vehicles were bonded to certain banks. And then during that time, as we were under a lockdown, people lost their jobs. As a result, the banks would come after their properties and their vehicles. So I was often a guest in some of these radio stations. And one such radio station that I was a guest at is a very popular radio station in South Africa called Lesedi FM. It's got quite a huge listenership, probably more than 1 million. It's one of the biggest radio stations in the country. So when I was done with the interview, I think the station decided to give my number out on air. And as you would imagine, many people phoned me. But anyway, this is a story about one particular old lady who phoned me, and she said she got my numbers from that program that I did with Lesedi FM. So she was arrested for some things that I don't want to repeat now, and she was almost 70 years old, if I remember correctly. So she called me and she said, I want you to represent me. I don't have money and all of that. And then, even though the area of law that she wanted me to represent her in was not something that I was fond of, I decided to do that. It was criminal law. So I approached an attorney friend of mine and asked for a brief so that I can represent her. So, brothers and sisters, I must have traveled up and down 8 times, and the court is almost 120 kilometers away from where I stay. That is return. I must have traveled like 8 times going to court, and the case was postponed and postponed. And on the 8th time, I said, Lord, this is your case. This is not my case. I've been there almost 7 times. I'm going there for the 8th time. This is your case. You sent the old lady to me to help her. But now this case is just taking my entire time. And then also my resources, because I was doing the case for free. So anyway, on this particular day, it was on the 8th occasion that I had to go to court. I remember the area where I live, it was gridlocked, it was raining. And at the time when I was supposed to be caught on that day, I was still struggling to get out of my suburb. Anyway, I phoned the prosecutor and I pleaded with him. I asked him whether he could put in a word for me with the magistrate. He was a very strict magistrate, I must say. The magistrate that I was appearing to, very, very strict. So anyway, the prosecutor promised to do that for me. And I drove to court. So brothers and sisters, I don't know what happened along the way. it's almost as if something just took over. And I've been going to that court on many other occasions, but I just missed the off ramp. I got all mixed up because I knew that the magistrate was not going to be very happy with me. It didn't matter what the magistrate thought about me, but obviously I felt sorry for the old lady because she was facing a jail term. So anyway, brothers and sisters, I panicked as I missed the off ramp, the 10. Let me put it like that, where I was supposed to go to court. So I panicked and I wanted to make a U-turn. It was raining, as I said. There was a voice that said, "Don't try it. Don't make a U-turn. You are going to stuck in the mud. Drive on." So I drove for plus minus another 3-4 kilometers. And then there it was. The one thing that the Lord wanted me to see. There is a company here in South Africa called Nampek. Amongst many other products that Nampek manufactures, they do manufacture the so-called Twin Saver toilet papers. So I drove along that path where their factory is, and the Lord just wanted to show me the sign. There was a tagline there, a big sign that says, "Forget me not." So that is what the Lord wanted me to see. Brothers and sisters, it was at the very, very beginning of my spiritual journey. As I said, some of the things I didn't understand what was going on. So anyway, I drove all the way to see that sign that said, "Forget me not." This is the tagline for Twin Saver toilet papers by Nampek. So I made a U-turn. There it was safe. I took the off-ramp and made a U-turn, drove back towards the direction of the court. And then I remember I arrived not an hour late, or an hour and a half late. So I arrived at court, and the prosecutor was there, and he said, no, the magistrate is waiting for you. Let's go to the chambers. So brothers and sisters, I was panicking in the sense that I knew that I was going to receive a tongue lashing about how late I have been and all of that. So anyway, I went there, and the magistrate surprised me. He was all friendly, and he didn't even say a word about what I had said or what I had thought of. So we then went back to court. We started, and there were 7 occasions where I was in that court, where the case was postponed and postponed. And on this day, like I said, God, this one is your case. When is it going to end? Brothers and sisters, I was late. The magistrate didn't have any issues with that. And that got me thinking, this is God for you. If he says, wait, we will all wait on him. So the magistrate had to wait because God wanted me to see what he wanted me to see. And then we started at court, and for some reason, the magistrate said that he has decided to withdraw yes, I think he said so. He said that he has decided to remove the matter from the roll, not withdraw, to remove the matter from the roll. And the old lady was free to go. So brothers and sisters, I do not know what your wilderness moments were like, but that one ranks amongst the highest of my wilderness moments. And we know that there was a time when Jesus Christ also went into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. So in my case, God demonstrated his power by making sure that the court waits for me after he has shown me what he wanted me to see. And also on that day, I had prayed about it and said, Lord, this is your case. I'm now tired. I don't see myself going back to court for the 9th time for the case to be postponed again. And to his nature, he decided that enough was enough. And the case was removed from the roll. Thank you, brothers and sisters. This is your host, Job Moraga from Marang Spiritual Ministries. Good day, brothers and sisters. My name is Job Moraga. I am certain that you are used to this phase at Marang Spiritual Ministries. Today, brothers and sisters, I want to introduce you to my personal channel. This is my personal channel in the sense that before I was called into ministry, I had a life. There were things that I was doing that I liked doing, and I continue to do them up to this date. So, brothers and sisters, in my past life, I worked for corporate. I was a consultant. I was a legal advisor. I occupied a number of senior roles in corporate. I worked for many multinational companies. I traveled the world. I met people, and it was all good. Currently, brothers and sisters, I own a company. It is a legal risk management company. We do legal risks. We do risk assessments. But we don't compete with insurance companies. We are more into personal development, risk associated with that. We look at the marriages. We look at the entire legal system, and we try and preempt what could be the risks in advance before our clients take any particular action, whether they want to marry, how should they marry, or whether they want to start a business, what kind of a business should they be involved in. So in short, brothers and sisters, we begin with the end in mind, just to make sure that our clients know what they are getting themselves into by taking whatever action that they believe is right for them. So I've been doing that for quite a number of years, being a problem solver, being an author. But I've always been fascinated by this whole area of obstacles, failures, identity, destiny, blockages. I've always been fascinated by those areas. I've also been fascinated by human behavioral patterns and also character traits. Like, for instance, I am an amiable person, meaning that if you want me to do anything for you, you must greet me, you must ask me how my family is like, and all of that. Other people may not necessarily be like that. Others are analytical, so you need to bring a couple of trucks full of files for them to enjoy themselves, to go through the files, analyze before they can believe what you're saying. Other people are expressive. You just have to open the tap and they go on and on and on, ask questions and answer themselves. And of course, we've got drivers who take no for an answer. So all of that fascinated me, and I studied extensively in those areas just for me to understand what was going on with the human psyche. I haven't studied psychology. I haven't studied anything other than human resources. in as far as or behavioral human behavior that I've studied, but I haven't gone deep into analyzing behavior patterns and all of that. But brothers and sisters, now I see that it could have been a waste of time for me, in the sense that when I think back and I think about all those clients that I've worked with, the clients that I've interacted with, and I seem to see a pattern in the sense that it looks like in some instances, whatever that I've done, whatever that I thought I knew as a consultant, as a coach, as a counselor, as a litigator, as a negotiator, as an arbitrator, whatever that I thought I knew couldn't have helped, because at that time I was not aware that often there are these dark forces that are pulling the strings behind. So we do have spirits. These spirits, obviously, they are part of the spiritual realms, and for some people, they cannot be seen with a natural eye. Those who are spiritual, or those that have been gifted to see in the realm of the spirit, can see them. I'm one of those. I'm blessed. I can see them. Others are mean. They just come for distraction. Others are ministering spirits, like we have read in the Bible. So, brothers and sisters, my approach will always be Christian, because I was raised a Christian. So yes, but I've been thinking, what is my identity? What is it that one can call being Job? Until I was answered recently. So, brothers and sisters, you will never arrive. With God, you will never arrive. With God, it's just one module after the other. He will continue to grow you. He will continue to show you the light. So you will never arrive. There were many instances where I thought that, wow, I have arrived during my spiritual journey. I believe that I have arrived. I'm a warrior. Sometimes I believe that I've arrived. I'm a teacher and all of that. But I've long realized that it's just part of development. He grows us into all these areas. I do not know whether it depends on interest or it becomes a question of the calling. It's your calling. That is how it's going to pan out for you. So yes, brothers and sisters, I have written quite a number of books. The first book that I wrote is this one. It is called Business Rescue Overview: From Failure to Survival, Job Moraga. This book was written way back, I think in 2010, as part of my thesis. And then this book was loved by many, so I wrote the second edition. And then the second edition is called Business Rescue Overview, second edition. This book also was loved by many, as I advised many organizations about business turnarounds, business rescue, about failures and all of that. And then I wrote another book. I called it The Journey: Practical Ideas for Job Creation in South Africa. This is the book that I wrote. This book also, it was distributed extensively. It's quite an interesting book. This book was written, I think, in 2017. That's when I wrote this book. And then I wrote this book. This book couldn't be published the way I thought I would due to COVID. So in 2020, when this book was ready to be published, and I had hoped that I will do some extensive extensive book launch. I couldn't due to the fact that COVID happened, and I believe I took my eyes off the ball. So yes, that is the book that I wrote, and there is this one, the recent book that I wrote, and it is called The Sermon: Be Naturally Foolish to Be Spiritually Wise. Brothers and sisters, I also wrote another book. I can't see it now. I also wrote another book. This book had something to do with doing business in line with biblical principles. I don't know why I wrote that book. It was at the very, very beginning of my spiritual journey. But the book is comprehensive. When I look at that book, I'm always in shock and awe as to where did I get all those scriptures from? Because at that time, I wasn't friends with Jesus. I wasn't really friends with God either. I was just living my life as pragmatic as I could. So, brothers and sisters, I've decided to start this channel. It is called the Exalter's Corner, because I know deep down I've always been an exhorter. I'm now talking biblically. But if you were to refer to some common terminology that's been used in the marketplace, one could say that I've always been an action coach, meaning that I was never the one who is just interested in theory. I wanted to see the practical aspects as well being depicted. I wanted to experiment, experiential learning. Maybe that is what I need to say here. So I've always been a pragmatic guy, not too idealistic about things. So yes, what I intend to do here, I intend to bring some aspects of practicality. Let me call it that. Some aspects of pragmatism into the scriptures. For instance, how best can we pray? How can we hear God and all of that? And these are obviously based on what I've learned or what I've been exposed to during a few months or a few years of my spiritual journey. So, brothers and sisters, the other thing that has happened to me is that I had an encounter with an angelic being, and this angel told me that I must start a school within a school. So I didn't know about that concept of a school within a school concept. So basically what he meant is that as much as I do ministry in the marketplace through Marang Spiritual Ministries, I may not necessarily have time to do what I'm doing now, to teach what I've learned, things that are related to personal development, things that are related to business development or organizational development, these human interactions that I've spoken about. So brothers and sisters, they've always been part of me. The one part that was missing was obviously the spirituality part, because I didn't have an encounter before then, either with the angelic beings, with the Holy Spirit, or with God Almighty, or with Jesus. I didn't have those encounters. Now that I've had plenty of encounters, when I look back at my role in the past as a consultant, as a manager, as a business owner, I just wonder how did I survive? Because now I know, if I knew what I know today about the impact of spirituality in our lives, I could have been a better person in terms of whatever projections that I had in mind. So brothers and sisters, this is what this channel, Exalter's Corner, will be all about. It will be about the impact of spirituality on our personal development, the impact of spirituality on the the development of organizations that we run. There may be people who are also keen to start their own personal ministries. Those who are Christians who believe in personal ministries will be looking at that as well. What is the impact of spirituality on any of the aforementioned areas: personal development, business development, or any interactions, interventions that one may think of in terms of crisis, obstacles? What are the interventions that one may think of? And also the whole question of identity linked to destiny. Because without identity, brothers and sisters, you go into struggle to know who you are. And if you do not know who you are, you can't go anywhere. You will be stuck. So there is a lot to cover. This is the part that I like most of teaching, of sharing what I've learned over the years, incorporate what I've learned running my own businesses. I'm not here to teach management principles or leadership principles or business principles. I'm merely here to demonstrate how spirituality impacts the different areas of our lives. So, brothers and sisters, this is an introductory video. I hope to see you in the near future. Job Moraga from the Exalter's Corner. Thank you.